It's the end of the summer, it's autumn, it's the World Cycling Road Race Championship for 1998. We call it the Elite Professional Championship of the world now, and 152 riders here trying to put on a brave face, I think, because conditions, as you can see, are wet. They are also extremely cold, barely scraping 8 degrees Celsius at the moment. That's around about 46 degrees Fahrenheit. And the weather threatening not to change much all day. 258 kilometres, 15 laps, so a 17.2 kilometre circuit, taking in the infamous climb of the Valkenburg, which is a 200-foot elevated climb, just over a mile in length, the steepest gradient, around about 1 in 8 or 12%. And the other climb on the course is the Valkenburg. That is steepest of 11%, around 1 in 9, and not quite as difficult as the Valkenburg, which climbs away from the village of Valkenburg, which for the 4th time is playing host to the World Championships for bike riders. And I'll tell you what, we always get a big crowd in Holland, and even though we are now moving out of season here in the area which is known as Little Switzerland, in the Limburg region of Holland, it's not flat at all around here. The crowd is still enormous, estimated in excess of 120,000, even though some of the big names are not here. Names like Jan Ullrich, second in this year's Tour de France and the winner last year, again missing the World Championships, and Marco Pantani, the man who has done the great double this year with the Tours of Italy and with the Tour de France. But one man who is here, Lance Armstrong, carrying hopes of the United States. He's had 4th in the time trial, and recently an incredible 4th place in the Tour of Spain as well. So he's going to be pretty confident. These are the weather days that Lance likes, I think. His mind will go back to 1993 in Norway when he won the first World Road Race Championship for him, and only the other American ever getting the world title, Greg LeMond. So that's the sort of picture I guess most bike riders wouldn't want to see at the start of a long day in the saddle. Certainly 6 hours plus they can expect today. 152 starters ever since the championships, moving towards the autumn and away from the month of August into September. The field has been down. I think the season now getting a little bit long for these cyclists who are bringing themselves into form and then dropping off and trying to come back for the World Championships, and some deciding it's not worth it. Abraham Olano, by the way, pulling out, saying he has a strained knee, having picked up the Spain's World Time Trial Championship a couple of days ago. Early pictures these of the race, a small breakaway trying to get away here as we approach the end of the 7th lap. Rolf Jerman, former champion of Switzerland, in this move here. And just coming up on his outside there, Cedric Vasseur, who made his name again this year with some fine riding in the Tour de France. Last year, you may remember, he was the yellow jersey for a little while before he lost it to Jan Ullrich on the climb of Arkelis in Andorra. Now this is the home straight here now as the riders, 7 of them in this breakaway, trying to settle down a little bit, 8 of them in fact. But the main field are not that far behind, and reportedly it is the Danish team who are leading the chase. They've got the whole squad on the front at the moment. We'll see pictures of that shortly, I'm sure. 3 hours 16 has gone by. The race has been highlighted by a number of attacks today. This has not been an easy race to read at all. Right from lap 2, lap 1 was a gentle affair, covered in 26 minutes and 53 seconds. We've never gone that slow for the lap since. Second lap went almost a minute quicker, and then the breakaway started to develop. Zanini went away on the Valkenburg with De Jonge and Servais Knaven. Jackie Giron, the man who seems to still produce some great results, Uriarte. Armstrong tried to get in there as well. He was in a group of some 30. They were all brought back, and then Michael Anderson of Sweden went clear, stayed away for the best part of 1.5 laps. Here's the Danish team now trying to chase them down. 2 candidates probably they will see on their squad for the World Championship rainbow jersey rather at the end of the day, and they would be Rolf Sorensen and Bo Hamburger. The Danes, what a committed lot they are too. Most of them racing on separate teams throughout the summer, but when they come here to represent their little nation of Denmark, it gives us a chance to see just what quality bike riders they do produce. Another big name not on the start list, Bjorn Ries, their top boy as well. Brochard and Virenque, of course, not here following the Festina affairs, we now call it, from the Tour de France. Laurent Jalabert out in sympathy, although I think the UCI mightn't have let him start after what he's been saying about them. Pantani I've told you about, Olano I've told you about. Disappointment too that Jan Ullrich isn't here. No, not Jan Ullrich, rather Bobby Julich isn't here, having had that great third place in the Tour de France. His season just that little bit too long, I think. Max van Heeswijk is the only Dutchman in this front group at the minute. And the main field that's still very much together despite the flurry of attacks. They're pacing themselves pretty well. Still a lot of the starters in this race despite the weather conditions. 152 left the start. Just before we moved these championships away from early September, we were getting around the figure 170, 172 riders. So it has come down a little bit, although selection now is also a criteria. And as a result of that, Great Britain has only one rider in the race today, Roger Hammond. Well, the Danes are doing the job well here to pull their riders back into contention, and everybody else letting them do it. The big hot favourite, Michele Bartoli, has had so far a rough day. He's been off his bike a couple of times. He's had at least one bike change at the back. Rolf Jerman at the front of this lead group at the moment. Cedric Vasseur, Nico Matin, Wilfred Peters are the two Belgian riders up front. There goes Jerman. We've got Dietz from Germany, number 39. That's Bert Dietz. And here come the Danes. And I think they've got them in their sights, actually. You can see by the strength of that flag there just how strong the wind is blowing. It's a southwest wind. Luckily, because it's a circuit, it's not always on the noses. Right now, it's coming from the left of our screen. And nobody assisting what is a full Danish chase down here. And there in the distance, you can see the damage has been done. And Nico Matin of Belgium driving the little group here at the front. Donati is the only Italian up front, hasn't done much in this breakaway at all because he's just trying to be a policeman in the hope that Bartoli will get up here. And there is the difference now of the gap, and the Danes are still driving it right up to them. This is the bleak expanse now here in the Limburg region of Holland. It actually is not a very pleasant place to be when the weather is like this. And it's also cold, but some riders favour these sort of conditions. One great name, Sean Kelly, would have loved this World Championship. He never did quite get up there for the victory. The one chance he really felt he had was when Greg LeMond took it off him, and he finished only third. Connie Shev getting the second place medal for Russia. A little bit of a scramble down there now as the wind comes from the left corner of our picture. Riders now swamping the breakaway, so they've gone. Van Heeswijk was the only Dutchman, and Jarman was the only Swiss rider. This is the base turn in the lovely little village of Valkenburg now as they start the climb up the hill. Just on a mile, 1.2 kilometres or so the climb. Massive crowd here on the climb. This is for everybody the high spot of the area on the course. Crowd estimated in excess of 120,000, but I really think that the organisers were hoping to have double that number and extend their holiday season just that little bit longer, but the weather, I think, has turned a lot of people off. Frank Hoy then, and that is to be expected now after the breakaway chased down by the Danes. Now they're putting a man into the move to try and reshape the front. There's an awful lot of riders still in this competition. So Frank Hoy now on lap number 8, trying to get a little bit of reaction coming from the field. One or two riders willing to take him on, I think. Still a massive field here at this World Championships so far into the race, just over the half-distance mark. Best lap we've seen, 23.17, the one we've just completed, and that was the chase down by the Danes. So the cat and mouse tactics playing their part in every World Championship, no exception today. Leon van Bon, the Dutchman who rode so well last year. He was so close, he actually had a chance to dream of being a world champion, but one place off the gold medal. He was right on the front of that group, but now has he got himself into the move here? Funnily enough, in the 4 visits that we've had, well, one we've still to see the result of course, but in the other 3 we've had one Dutch world champion, Jan Raas, back in 1978. I remember sitting in a bus in very similar conditions to this, freezing cold, watching the sprint on television, and I was only 50 metres from the finishing line at the time. Raas getting a very popular victory for his home crowd, and now we've got a Belgian trying to go away here, because this will be Ludo Dirksen's 3 days away from his 34th birthday, and what a birthday present that would be. He's now trying to shape the race. Former champion of Belgium rather, last year, Ludo. Responding to the crowd, but they prefer to see the orange jersey, I think, but it's not too far to the Belgian borders from Holland, although this end is down a little bit near the German frontier. And as the cameras pull back, you can see a little chase group trying to get on the move. Looks like about 8 riders trying to get across here. The initial attack coming from Dirksen's. Well, it could be a chance of making 1 or 2 decisions here. Maybe the first selection in progress, because look right down the end there. This race is split into 3 different groups right now, as the riders look at each other and see what they can get going. And this group here of some 10 riders trying to get across them. Liam van Bon is into this group, so he's kept on the momentum. So we come down to just 6 laps to go from the finish. So this is the end now of the 9th lap. And looks as though we're going to get 10 riders at the front. Not many seconds in it. 10 or 11 seconds possibly. You've got to start somewhere, and they all seem to be going on the bridge of the Valkenburg. That's where everybody's going to start watching if we do get a breakaway. But it's the obvious place to attack, of course. There's the 10 riders up front. I can see Udo Boltz down there for Germany. Dirksen's, who started the move. Hoy, who was with him on the climb of the Valkenburg. Van Bon is there. I don't see the names that we're looking for, though. People like Bartley, still in a little bit of trouble with his bike changes. There's also a rumour he's been in a crash with the American Christian van der Velde, who's riding his first full elite championship. And in fact, this is Bartley here trying to get back up to the field. So he has been in bother, and his team have dropped back, and it's coming at a very crucial and difficult time of this race here, because there's now a lot of riders deciding to try and split that field up at the front, and Bartley is trying to put things to rights at the back. Well, at least the Squadra has come back for him to try and drag him back into the action. It really has been a busy day for my man of the season as far as riding classic races goes, the World Cup winner. And that's without the result of the upcoming Tour of Lombardy, because he has been so dominant and so consistent from the start of the season. And to repeat win in the World Cup, Johan Museeuw did it a couple of years ago. Here's the man who's been causing all the trouble for the last couple of laps, Ludo Dirksen's. And it looks like he's trying to open a gap again, or they're trying to still come up to him. Well, there you can see Bartley. It looks as though he's adjusted his shoes again, and you can see by his shorts here that he has been off his bike. Fallen on his right side, doesn't look injured, and he's got to thank his team there for getting him back into the action. Nardello was the rider just in front of him who's brought him back up to the field. And he's going to find this field has thinned out somewhat since he was last here as well, because they've split into groups to try and chase down Dirksen's. This tall man from Belgium. Win this year in the Grand Prix d'Ainza back in August. And also he won Paris-Bourges, which wasn't so long ago. So he has the form, and I think concentrating on a good performance in the World Championship, so close to home. Probably could have almost stayed overnight at his house. Now the reactions are beginning to come from the rest of the field. Looks like Taffy is starting to dance a little bit on the pedals as well. There's Lance Armstrong, first chance to see Lance now, but he's never been far away from the front. He's watched every move. He was off in the early sortie on lap number 2, which got a little bit unmanageable. About 30-40 riders got away. But Lance, I think, is firing so well. His confidence is sky high, and why shouldn't it be? After his recovery year this year has taken him right back to the top of the cycling tree. And judging by the coming up the hill here, one or two teammates try to back the race off now. They've got men sprinting clear of the pack, and we'll try and pin them down as they come towards our camera. This is the man who's causing the consternation initially, Dirksens. We've got Taffy coming up behind. It looks like a Frenchman, and also Jens Voigt is the German. That's Cedric Vasseur, the Frenchman. So those three chasing Dirksens. Now, does he know that his team captain Bartoli has been in trouble and may not yet have recovered at the back of this field, I wonder. Anyway, Taffy's going. You can't hold Taffy back for too long. Man, there's won 21 races in his career. And a few counter-attacks going off the front of the group now. Onto the straight. The rain still coming down. The crowd still enjoying the sight of the main field. Very compact. But now, for the first time, there are signs that riders beginning to get a little bit anxious about the way the race is taking shape. Dirksens does seem to have laid a foundation of something here. He's being reached by Taffy, Voigt and Vasseur. Voigt, long term, I think, will develop into a great cyclist for Germany. As an amateur, he was voted, or did win the Amateur World Cup a couple of years ago. Outstanding bike rider, now got his chance on a big cycling team. He started off with the AIS squad, run by Heiko Salzwiedel, who is rumoured to be courted, or being courted by the German Cycling Federation to possibly become their new national coach after his rather sad end of friendship with the Australian Cycling Federation. Now the Dutch trying to sort themselves out. Bogart getting himself into the action as well. Well, Belgium's always had a happy time here. They won 2 of the 3 World Championships. Brick Schott and Marcel Kint, the winners when they were held here. Marcel Kint winning in 38 and Brick Schotter in 1948. Now they've got hold of Dixon, so Taffy's gone to the front on the Cowberg. Cedric Vasseur flying the flag for France. A very weak French team here, absolutely destroyed by the doping scandals throughout the summer. And the UCI making it quite clear they weren't welcome in this World Championships until it's all been sorted out. There's the Dutch now, no longer the Danes. The Breton flag flying for France on the right as Cedric Vasseur passes underneath. He's a man of northern France, Cedric, son of Alain, winner of a stage of the Tour de France, just like son Cedric is now. Well, there can't be very much in this gap. And there isn't. In fact, 20 seconds it is at the moment over the top of the Cowberg, and the Dutch are anxious to put somebody into that move. I'm not surprised, but I would have thought too that we might have seen some Italians coming up, and at the moment I think they're still worried about Michele Bartoli. Van Bon is up here in the thick of the action, so too Michael Bogart, and a little bit of a split going there, and I'm just wondering if I caught a glimpse of Lance Armstrong tagged onto the back of what appeared to be a group trying to go clear. There's that group. Armstrong is the man at the back of that group trying to get up there with them. So he's sensing that something big is going on. I saw Van Bon and Bogart. There was another Dutchman in there. We've got Armstrong certainly as well. Number 88 here, giving all of his effort, is Mark Wouters of Belgium. And there is Michele Bartoli on the other side of him, so he's also trying to get some control of the situation. He knows now he's got to do something himself, because this could be one of those World Championships where individuals have got to go out hunting for the goods and not wait for the team. It has been a very active World Championship all day, and I don't know whether it's because of the weather and they've wanted to keep warm, but there have been lots of movement, lots of breakaways, and lots of good chase downs all day. Very rarely a quiet moment in the peloton. So this breakaway still trying to get itself together at the moment. In the far distance we still have the chase group coming up. Dirksens is the man causing the problems. There is Leon van Bon. I'm not too sure it is going to work, although it doesn't. They look very close. They're probably about 20 seconds still behind, with the camera foreshortening the lens. The Italian flag flying and indicating the strength of the crosswind at this point. Bogart asking for some more action there. The other man in this breakaway, by the way, is Martin den Bakker, former champion of Holland. Armstrong willing to do his share at the front. He would like to see this big bunch thinned down just a little bit now. Armstrong looks over. Just 5 laps left to go now as we come to the end of lap number 10. And that is the best lap we've seen so far. I'm making 23 minutes, shade over perhaps. That's the fastest we've seen, and it's because of all the attacks and the counter-attacks. Now the main field, not surprisingly, are being led by the Italians now. And so Bartoli is going to start worrying about the quality of that breakaway. He still has Taffy up there. I'm not sure whether that's good or bad, quite frankly. Looks like Zanini here driving the pack along. The French won't give too much help. Mannion just about managing time to get a little bit of a snack in there as he starts to move clear. Number 11 sitting at the back. If it was 11, I don't think it was 11. Well, I misread that number. We'll catch up with it in a second. It was a Frenchman, in fact. So it's probably Vasseur. Now, these are tough days now as riders try. There's the Italians, the Blue Squadra, pulling back a couple of, well, 5 riders, in fact. Look over the shoulders, continue to drive on as they continue to close the gaps now up to the next group. They look as though they might well be pulling this all back together. But it looks as though Dirksens is going to have another go here. The Dutch reassessing the situation. They've been put back in their place. One Swiss rider on the front. A couple of Belgians won't do anything at all, not while they've got Dirksens up in the breakaway. This is the main field and they're moving very, very quickly now. Well, this climb now of the Bemmelerberg, they're virtually sprinting up this climb as they try to now completely put this race back together. Not quite such a big crowd on this one out in the country, but just look at the length of the line of riders now as this World Championship. There's Armstrong back in the bunch. I think they're all together once more. Armstrong looking very, very confident, always looking around, seeing what the quality of the rider is, seeing what they're thinking of doing. I'm not too sure whether he's got any US teammates left with him now. He must have been quite disappointed when people like Frankie Andreu didn't start, and George Hincapie, the champion of US, and Bobby Julich. He could have done with strength like that around him. Once again now, the Dutch applying the pressure, responding to the cheers from the crowd. Through the feeding station. Riders now having covered 172 kilometers. So it's time to think about just thinning out the group a little bit now. This is Martin den Bakker. Up alongside him here is Mario Ertz of Belgium. So they are now starting to look as though they want to liven the affairs up just a little bit. There is the attack. The road's still wet, but the rain has eased a little bit, but it's going on and off all the time. The temperature is shot up. Shot up, I suppose that's an understatement, really. but it's now just over 50 degrees Celsius Fahrenheit. I suppose some might wish it was Celsius. That would be a little hot. Back in to Valkenburg and the left turn. Martin Den Bakker will get plenty of cheers here now. He almost overcooked that, and also the Belgian Ertz. Now that is a small group that's coming across behind them by the look of it. Well, they must have slipped away somewhat on the feed. No, it's the main field. It's still the main field, but they've got a little gap that could act as a springboard as they start the climb now. Jos Ertz just looking over his shoulder. Martin Den Bakker willing to work, I think, but might feel he's not the man to finish the job off, and he would like to see a bit more progress from perhaps Van Bon or Michael Bulgert, second year champion of Holland. The German rider tried to dash off the front there, but they look so dirty now it's hard to pick them out. It's Mario Ertz, by the way. I think I said Jos Ertz a bit early. This is Mario. Well, there's the crowd, and you can see by all the names on the road, mostly Dutch, who they support. Servaes Knaven was in the early breakaway, but I haven't seen him since. Udo Bolt's very solid and reliable German rider, who would have been the team leader if Jan Ullrich for any reason hadn't have shone in this year's Tour de France for Telecom. A little bit more help required at the front, I think. People are now beginning to hesitate. They don't really want to go. That was Taffy waving his arms around to try and get somebody else to come and do a share of the work at the front. Because once again, you see a breakaway is forming by individuals sprinting off the front. And once again, it looks to me as we've got 3 Dutchmen up here. I'm not sure, but that could have been Pascal Richard who's trying to get away. Well, it might have been might have been Marcus Ziberg actually. Let's have a look when we get down there. Anyway, at the moment, here are the 2 leaders, Mario Ertz and Martin Den Bakker. And the field got themselves back together, but that big bunch is beginning to thin out a little bit now under the pressure of these riders, and a lot of the same names putting home at the front. And Lance Armstrong, I think, is complaining by the fact, just look at all the motorbikes who've got themselves yet again caught between the breakaways and the chasers. And the chasers going for the bikes, and that always spoils the fun for the riders, and I think it's very unfair. They should react quicker than that. With just 4 laps left to go, the end of the 11th lap, another very quick lap. 23 minutes and 12 seconds, so it was 7 seconds slower, that's all, than the previous lap, with 4 to go. So we're moving out now onto lap number 12, and we've still got Mario Ertz and Martin Den Bakker setting the pace. There they are. It looks like they're going to be joined very shortly. Taffy is coming up. You can't keep him down at all, and I think with him is Jackie Giron. So it could well be Jackie Giron who's come up. There's the confirmation of the lap time as well. And that looks like the start up. Well, there it is. It's Pascal Richard. So they're the 5 riders at the front now. And a little bit of a gap forming now. Well, it was nothing great to the back group, no more than 15-20 seconds, I don't think. So we go out now, Moto 2, so we're back with the chasers here. And it's still the main field largely. We're trying now to control that small breakaway group. Jackie Giron, one of the most amazing cyclists really. Won a stage this year of the Tour of Luxembourg. Then he got his big stage win, yet another one in the Tour de France. Went over to Poland, managed to get 2nd overall in the Tour of Poland. And of course Paris Tours which he also won. And he's a past winner of the Tour of Flanders and, of course, a double national champion. So he keeps on popping in with these terrific results, Jackie, and this is going to go down as one of his best seasons anyway. When he won Paris Tours, that was the first win by a Frenchman, and it wasn't very long ago, the other day. First win by a Frenchman for 42 years. Albert Bouvet, I think it was, former technical director of the Tour de France. And there's Armstrong, eased off from the front for the moment, as he drops down the line just a little bit. There's Rolf Sørensen, centre from Denmark, concentrating his season on winning these World Championships, still very much in the fray. Van Bron setting the pace, and it looks like a little bit of an acceleration here. Max van Heeswijk it was, actually. It looks very similar to Leon. Max still developing as a young rider. Last year won the final stage of the Tour of Spain. Very good sprinter. Rumoured to be thinking of leaving the Rabobank team this coming winter. We'll see. Reforming at the front. Van Heeswijk still up there. It's still a big field too. So the moves are still on the table for somebody to come and make them. But there's a lot of racing being done, and we are on a very, very fast schedule if they continue knocking off these 23-minute laps. We could in fact be witnessing the fastest ever World Championship. But they've still got 3.5 laps to go for us to know the answer to that. No improvement in the weather. I'm afraid Holland and Belgium, it's not the place to come for your summer holidays at this time of the year. There is Andrea Tafi, man who never lets you down, always so aggressive and so popular. Second in Paris-Roubaix this year and won the Italian Championship, and I think everybody was happy about that. And he's had some good results this year, with 4th in the San Sebastian Classic and 4th in the Grand Prix Suisse. And in Great Britain last year, he won the Rochester Classic, late breakaway. Well worth seeing. Winner of the Tour of Lombardy back in 1996. He's had a steady climb up the overall rankings this year too, which reflects his fine cycling. Won his first ever time trial too, from memory, the Tour of Langkawi time trial, which is really a tour of Malaysia. I think it only goes to Langkawi, which is an island off the Malaysian coast, for one day of racing. But the Prime Minister there wants to publicise Langkawi rather than the whole of Malaysia. So there you are. We call it the Tour of Langkawi. Up towards the climb of the Cowberg again, a little breakaway. Armstrong has gone across. Armstrong was in that move and he's tagged onto the back. There he is on the left of our picture, beginning to look useful yet again. Tafi and Wouters are up here somewhere. Armstrong trying to move into the picture. I'm not sure whether that's Yerman or Zeberg, the Swiss rider on the far right of our picture. Armstrong deciding now. It's a chance for him to test the strength of some. He must be feeling good. He stepped on those pedals a little bit harder this time to see what comes of it. Lance Armstrong over the top, being trailed by Marcus Zeberg, in which case they're in pursuit, I think, of Tafi and Wouters. No, here comes Tafi and Wouters. So he's gone by them. The Italian's looking a little bit worried now. I think actually Armstrong has gone down in a number of these riders' books as the man to beat in this World Championship. They saw him ride an exhilarating Tour of Spain with that marvellous performance on the toughest of all stages. And now Lance is full of fire yet again. And it is Marcus Zeberg who's joined Lance, had a great season as well. Top and tailed the Welter, the Spaniard, with stage victories. Everybody's still full of fight here. They're not allowing anybody very much room. They're not allowing a break to develop at all before they jump on it. I have to take my word, it's Marcus Zeberg. He's got no number on his frame, which indicates he's probably changed his bike at some stage. He's got no number on his back. And But there he is alongside Lance Armstrong, and a group here working the way up. It's quite a healthy group, this one. And I think Taffy has got himself in there again. This bunch has collapsed in these last 2 laps. It's gone down to half of its size. And the end of another lap, leaving 3 laps to go. And a group getting itself together at the front here now. I made it 13 riders had just gone through, and somebody sprinting the gap, and the main field 15 seconds the span across. Zeberg is in this group. Got one rider from Denmark in the group as well, by the look of it. And a lot of work now being done by the Dutch, because I think they've got the men they want across this gap. We'll have a look in a moment and see who's here. Now this group beginning to go clear at the moment, and looking very, very useful indeed. Sitting at the back is Andrea Taffy, who's having a little chat here with his teammate Bartoli. So Bartoli's got himself onto the back, probably asking him how he is. And just also across now, Romans Weinsteins of Latvia. And I think the Latvians might have 2 riders in this breakaway, because I think I also saw in this breakaway Rumzas, peace race winner. Armstrong now going through very hard at the front. Armstrong, Taffy, Bartoli are here. Ebersold is here, and Zeberg, and I think Kammer's in. So the Swiss might have 3 riders in this breakaway. Wouters, who featured earlier, is in the move. Here comes Taffy. Belgium have also got Peter van Petegem up here. And you know, I'm not too sure who can chase now, because I think most of the nations are represented in the breakaway. This might be the combination that shapes the World Championship. They stamp on the pedals now, going over the top of the small climb out in the country. Bartoli sitting at the back and not looking terribly happy with himself just now. Armstrong wisely having a little bit of a rest after that initial surge to get forward into the group. The Frenchman here is Emmanuel Magnon, as he just looks over his shoulder. And it's Bartley, I think, having a little bit of trouble on the back of this field. He's had so much bad luck. You can see his face at the end of the line there. He is suffering right now. It's been a horrible day for him. He's been spending most of his championship chasing from incidents out on the course. There he is, and he hasn't recovered. And that might not be good news for Michele Bartoli. And Taffy, it seems, is driving the pace at the front rather than easing up or even easing off to try and get Bartoli onto the back of the line again. We could be seeing the death knell for the main field. It looks to me as though they feel as though the breakaway has now sorted itself out. Well, if there is a Dutchman here, I can only think it's Michael Bogert, because I've seen no other Dutchman in the group. Armstrong, feeling maybe the group of 14 is getting a little bit unmanageable. Going clear again. Let's hope he doesn't overwork at this stage, because when you race in these weather conditions, you know, your body can change so quickly, and you can go from feeling wonderful to not feeling too good at all. Armstrong just wants to get people moving. Now he's happy to slip back into the line again. This looks like it might be Ebersold from Switzerland. He's had another excellent season with the Post-Swiss team. They're not getting it together at all at the moment. There's a lot of riders here, seems to be just bridging gaps and hoping, quite frankly. Peter van Petegem is the Belgian rider tagged on the back, and just in front here we've got the two Latvians. Oh, I better correct that and not say Latvian, because Raimundas Rumzas is a Lithuanian, so they're not teammates at all, but their colours are so similar. Rumzas has also had a pretty good season this year. He rides normally for the Polish Moroz team, but here, of course, riding for his nation. And plenty of push now, and this is Oscar Kamazin, who's gone clear. Hasn't had a win all year, Oscar, but he decided to try and do something. So Kamazin going clear. You see, this could be the championship that provides something of a surprise, because here's a rider, no wins all year, and now the way the championships are coming so late in the season, riders' forms come and go. And this particular year, a lot of the top 20 in the UCI rankings are not here today. And make of that as you will. We're looking here at Kamazin, or we're not looking here at Kamazin now, but he's up there somewhere. There he is, heading down to start the climb. Now, who can reach him? And it might be Armstrong, because that's Armstrong in that group behind. Bogart is third man down the line. I think Van Petegem was the Belgian rider. All the cheers at the minute for Oscar Kamazin. National champion of Switzerland last season when he had 7 victories. This year, as so often happens, next time around you expect a great year. Hasn't had it so far. But Armstrong now deciding that he wants to get up to the flying postman from Switzerland. Well, ex-postman I think he is now. And in a little bit of trouble on the back of the line here, it was Mark Wouters, in fact, and Wouters is dropping back. Wouters is falling back on the climb, and coming up we've got Michael Bogart, another Swiss rider here, so it's Ebersold and Armstrong. So Nicky Ebersold, I'll tell you what, if he gets up there, 2 Swiss in this group, could spell trouble for the other 2. Mark Wouters, who looked strong early on, has now slipped away and back into the main field there, and didn't look too good. This climb, you know, they're climbing it so quickly that and it has such a fearsome reputation, especially after 15 times. We haven't quite got to that just yet, but we're not far away from it now, and the old legs, I think, are beginning to complain. But Armstrong just sitting at the back there, watching the move now. Very good piece of riding indeed. Nicky Ebersold in front, and then Bogart. Nicky doing nothing at all to help the chase down of his teammate. He's making Bogart waste his energy, or use his energy at least. Armstrong's realised it and gone round the Dutchman and decided it's got to be finished off now. Where better place to do it than in the grandstand in front of everybody. The man from Texas looking so good at the minute. And a fine piece of rhythm riding here by Armstrong, out of the saddle, concentration, and get it over and done with quickly, so there's a chance to recover. Nobody's looked over the shoulder to see what damage has been done. They must be taking heart from the fact that Bartley is not here and does seem to be in all sorts of difficulty. Now Bogart's had a look and deemed it's worth doing. Kamazin, oh, and there's been a crash here, and that's Zeeberg who's gone down. He must have come round that corner in the chase group, and he's just gone slam into the barriers, and doesn't look terribly good either. Well, that's a weakener for the Swiss. They had 3 men in this front group of what was 14 riders. Zeeberg has gone down there. There were 9 nations. Oh, we can have a look at it here. Now watch this right-hander then. Zeeberg sprinting across, he clips the foot of that barrier, locks up his back wheel, and how lucky he was his bike went in first. It looks spectacular. I'm about to say he hasn't hurt himself, and he hasn't. He's just shaking his head because the guys can't get his bike back on the road. Well, at this stage of the World Championship, I think Marcus is out of it. Really bad luck, but it was his own fault, whatever you think. Must have had his head down momentarily there and clipped the base of those barriers. Now, 4 leaders. And this is the bridge, I think they're showing us now. Armstrong there, riding no-handed and almost paying the price there, but he's righted himself. So maybe that's why we got a quick glimpse of that one. And now back to the 4 leaders. So we got Lance Armstrong of the United States, and riding superbly, Dutch champion Michael Bogart. I think the Dutch will say is their big favourite today. And there are 2 Swiss here. And one has to say what surprises they are, Oscar Kammerzind and Nicky Ebersold. The others not out of it, and that's Bartley coming across, and with the Belgian it's got to be Van Petegem. I can't believe Mark Wouters has found legs. He looked too tired on the Cowberg, and now with 2 laps to go, that's 31 kilometres from the finish, or 35.5 kilometres rather from the finish. The gap is fairly negligible, and that's the best lap we've seen. 23 minutes flat, the fastest lap, and it's all happened in the shaping of the race. Remember that this breakaway is forming from the original group of 14. Forget the main field now. They're over 3 minutes behind. It took a lot of finding this breakaway today, and every rider in the 14 can salute their strength, because it was a difficult race to read for sure. Bartley has gritted his teeth and is still in the thick of it. I don't know whether it's pride or just absolute determination, but it looks as though he might get across, and got across indeed. There he is. So we now have 6 riders in front: Armstrong, Kammerzind, Ebersold, Bogart, now joined by Michael Bartley and Peter Van Petegem of Belgium. The Hepvolt King won it the last 2 years. This is the remnants now of the chase group. Some 7 of them left behind. Still a chance. Here's the main field. I said it was over 3 minutes, but it's nearly 4 minutes now as they come through. No racing left in this lot because they've got their teammates away, and they hope they can do the job. 3:51 is the gap. So there's no way now that they will be coming back with just over 20 miles left to race. And these boys now have got themselves in a situation where they can start assessing each other. They've got to watch out for the return of the riders behind. We've lost, in fact, Zeberg, but the others are chasing. Bartley trying to ride himself back into this race. He's such a great cyclist, he might well do it as well. An absolutely star-studded season, but this is the race he wants. He's had a 3rd in it before. He's never had the world title. At the start of this year, 24 victories to his credit, and already this season added another 10. So he's had a wonderful year. Tour of Lombardy coming up, but it doesn't matter. He's going to win the World Cup for the 2nd year. Time to assess one another's strengths again now as they head round to the 2 little climbs, where someone surely might try and attack yet again. Halfway round the penultimate lap. The Swiss are going to be smiling right now with 2 riders in the breakaway. Remember, this is the season without Tony Rominger, their top Swiss rider. Looks as though, as in the case in Spain with Abraham Olano, that the new stars are born. Bartley, Kammerzind on the left of our picture, looking so good at the moment as he dances up there. And I think Armstrong's recognised this because he's marking him pretty closely. Bogart continues to develop as a great bike rider, as Michael Bogart, retaining his Dutch title this year, then becoming a real challenger in the Tour de France at last, and still holding on to his form at this stage of the year, which for him was extremely important, racing in Holland like this, where the crowd now are going to cheer him all of the way, and he will carry that responsibility over the top of the Bermleberg. And still Armstrong looking very, very good, with around about 23-24 kilometres to go to the finish. Just over 15 miles. There's no sign of any weak link in this breakaway now. Bogart riding well. and everybody seems to be doing a turn at the front. Bartoli also, who seemed to be in dire straits, but don't forget he had come back after a long chase and then had the common sense and the forethought to try and get with the move when he saw it going. He just had to suffer his way through, and he's done it, and he's here. And that really is a pointer to any young cyclist, is to get out there and never give up hope and try, because you do recover. Further back down the line now, this is the chase group still. Udo Bolt's leading them through. The fact they've allowed so many cars in this gap now, I think they're going clear. That chase group unlikely to be picked up by the main field unless they decide to stop racing, but I don't think there's much hope of them getting across this gap now, because this group is working so well together. Van Petegem tapped Lance Armstrong there and then dropped out of the line. I think it was to tell him to take his place in the line, because he was popping back to speak to the team car. Obvious what he's asking, I would think, is where's the rest and how are we doing? Jean-Luc Vandenbroek is the rider leaning out, I think it was. It might be Marc Sergeant, because I don't think it was, but Marc Sergeant now the new manager of the Belgians. And we're not going to get a look into the car to find out. Anyway, Van Petegem will be interested to do well here now. And it would be a big surprise if Peter could win this. Let's face it, he won the Het Volk in February. He's had a couple of wins, that's all this year. 5 wins last year. And 12 wins in his career, which started back in 1992 with the TVM squad. I think his best performance he would rank would be his 5th place in the Tour of Flanders this year, because that is such a hard race to do well in. Here's the chase group here now, just checking out things, and maybe they are being picked up, because this is Weinsteins of Latvia looking over his shoulder. There's the main field, and Chan McRae I just saw in the group there, so he's still riding well in that big bunch. And I think he's possibly the only American left in the race. Roger Hammond, the British rider, left fairly early on, a bit disappointed with his performance. There's Chan off to the left of our picture. You may have caught the sight there of one of the riders in Belgian colours at the moment. And that was Andre Schmil, who has changed his nationality on a number of occasions. Well, this might be the last time our cameras will go back to the climb to show you the bunch, because the racing is clearly finished now. The domestiques hope that the men that they have manoeuvred into that front group can do the job. There must be some surprise there are 2 Swiss in it, but this so often happens in a World Championship, where the big names are marked heavily, have to be supermen to shake the grip of riders who look after them. Whereas nobody, I don't think, would have marked Kamazin, who rode away so strongly, nor in fact Nicky Ebersold, who has now got himself onto the back of this group here. Down through the village of Valkenburg. Kamazin first around the corner, followed by Bogart, Van Petegem. I wonder if Kamazin's going to try on the climb. He's looking strong. This is the penultimate time up the Kouberg now. He's certainly not looking for any help. Neither is Bogart, or is he? I think he is. I think he wants Bogart to come through and do some work. But he looks so relaxed when he gets out of the saddle. Armstrong sitting down to the left of our picture there, 3 men back. Van Petegem looking also very good, his face giving nothing away. And Ebersold, always worry about the rider who sits last in the line. He's the one that's most likely to attack. And Bartoli, I think, will fear Armstrong right now as the man to watch for the championship. And what a result. And there wouldn't be a dry eye in the house if Lance Armstrong won this race, including mine, because it has been such a magical return. From cancer, and literally, as everybody thought, his deathbed, he's come back to full health and to racing right at the very top of the sport yet again. 4th in the Tour of Spain, which was an outstanding performance. I remember at the start of that Tour of Spain, Lance saying it was important he finished the Tour. Finish it, my goodness me. He nearly won it. No sign of anybody attacking on the climb. Perhaps they're all too twitchy now. Everybody expecting a climb there. Back to Moto 3. Goodness knows what happened to Moto 1. So there must be somebody in between. Perhaps trying to catch up with those leaders. This is the chase group. Unless, of course, Moto 1 has succumbed to the weather. Or Moto 2, rather. And now on the climb itself, nobody has gone. Well, this, in fact, is the chase group. So there is that group is split, I think. No, it's the second group on the road. It's still the second group. Magnon on the front for France. Udo Boltz is here. But I don't think there's any chance now of them closing the gap. We haven't got a time check on them at the moment. It's not many seconds behind because they're on the climb. This is Garcia. Jose Garcia from Spain. They could do with the man up there, so that's why he's going to have to work a little bit hard. And it looks now as though they may have placed the Latvian in a little bit of trouble there. Weinsteins on the climb. He'll get back up to the leaders here over the top, and nobody has gone. Cameras in, keeping the pressure on, looking over his shoulder. Bogart straight up to him. Cameras in looks pretty cool. He's not under any pressure at all, but mind you, I have to say it about all the others as well. They seem to be ticking over. A little bit of a gap there for Ebersol, who's holding off Bartoli. They've got one more climb of the Cowberg and then a dash for the line. Holland now hoping for the perfect result to end these championships. There's been some excellent racing here during these championships in Valkenburg. The crowd really turning out in big numbers today. A little bit thin on the ground on occasions. The weather has been very unkind, but you know, in October you're sometimes lucky you don't get snow. Here they come, heading up towards the bell. 5.5 hours, well more than that in the saddle. Well, if they go around in 23 minutes, this is going to be a record. They've done a bit slower this time, 24 minutes and 4 seconds. I can't see how it can't be a fastest ever elite championship of the world, which is the old word for the professional world championship. As Lance Armstrong at the bell leads them through now. Bogart looking very determined and still full of fight. Van Petegem looks the same to me. As he goes through on the shoulder, the United States, the Netherlands, Belgium, Switzerland and Italy are in at the kill with 1 lap to go. 17 kilometres left. The end of a perfect year for Lance. Whatever happens now, he's back next year, the Tour de France. And the route for that will be announced shortly. There's the driving force of Lance Armstrong. They were white socks, by the way. He looks as though he's still full of fight. Perhaps he's a little bit tired. It's very hard to tell. Bogart doesn't look tired. The two Swiss boys have put themselves on the back. Now it's time probably for a little confab between the two Swiss boys. Maybe they'll start one-on-one attacking and see. It could be a surprise result, you know. Everybody's going to believe in Bartoli, Bogart and Armstrong, that they are the three riders who are obvious world champions elect right now. Bartoli third previously, Armstrong a former world champion, Bogart the home boy. And this is Michael. Five wins for him this year. And a brilliant fifth in the Tour de France. Here's the chase group coming through. The gap on the left of the screen there. They're gone. 2:06 they're saying. As we move out onto the last lap. 7 chasers. Now all they can hope is to race for one of the lower places, although anybody who finishes this race today, I think, has got themselves something to feel proud of. It's been a tough one. Sitting in the back here, this group, Mark Wouters lost his chance on the Cowberg a couple of laps ago. He was in the move and couldn't hold it. They're down through the pit area now, this chasing group of 7. Taffy still in there. This is Wouters and Rumsast just in front of him. Back with the leaders now. Armstrong, never shy to do his share of the work. They don't need to worry about anything coming from behind now, unless it's a rider sprinting from the back of this group. Armstrong, oh, giving that back a nice stretch, and I'm sure it felt good. They've been riding all day, round and round at this circuit on the German frontiers of Holland. 2 of the pre-race favourite by my reckoning are here. I think probably 3 if we include Bogart, Bartley and Armstrong. Van Petegem, a big danger I feel, Van Petegem. And who knows about the 2 Swiss. They've surprised already today. Nobody missing a turn, no indication how anybody is feeling. Armstrong drives through, takes the line across, eases up. Ebersold goes through. Not quite as nippy as Lance went through, is it? And then Kamazin tight off his wheel, straight through. He looks strong, Kamazin. And in comes Bartley. Not quite as fluid, I don't feel. Petegem looks very good. Bogart is good. We're on the flats now. We're bridging between the mountains. Well, such as they are, but I should imagine they feel like mountains right now. There's Armstrong. Born again and enjoying every minute of this latter part of the season. He came back over after a seemingly dreadful Paris-Nice, which seemed like it was the end for him. He refound himself. He came back into Europe. He rode a brilliant Tour of Luxembourg, as we now know, because he won it. And then he also won a race in Germany, the Rheinland-Pfalz, which used to be one of the best amateur races in the world. Now, like all races, it's open. And then that brilliant Vuelta a España. And not to mention his 4th place in the World Time Trial just a few days ago. If there was a prize for the best joint performance of the time trial and the road race, then Lance would be right at the top of the leaderboard right now. Two Swiss, notably and not surprisingly, are riding the line together so they can keep an eye on each other. This is Kamazin. We'll pick out Kamazin because he's the one in the blue crash helmet, and Ebersold's got the yellow one on. Bartley driving through. He's a man with the record, a bit like Ballerini. Everybody would love this record because he's done so well getting the places, stacking them up in the classic races. This year won Liège-Bastogne-Liège, 3rd in the Amstel Gold Race, took a stage of the Giro d'Italia, and he of course wore the Maglia Rosa as well. He won the Hughes Grand Prix and the Swiss Grand Prix, and 3rd in Paris-Brussels. That's consistency indeed. World Cup holder and about to retain it as well. And just for the record, as we're talking about a brilliant bike rider, in 1997 he also was 5th in Milan-San Remo, won Liège-Bastogne-Liège, 4th in Flèche-Wallonne, won the Grand Prix of Frankfurt, 6th in the Grand Prix Suisse, and 4th in the Tour of Lombardy, and it goes on. And now, what he would really like to prove he is the very best one-day man in the business is a World Championship gold medal, and he's got a real chance now. Well, the Bemleberg or the Cowberg, somebody must go on one of those climbs, because they won't all feel confident in the sprint, that's for sure. Bartley comes to the back of the line. This Bogart's pace continues at almost 30 miles an hour. It has been a very, very quick World Championship indeed. Certain now to set a record. The last one, and I wasn't expecting this to be a fast World Championship from memory, was Joop Zoetemelk, when he surprisingly won the world title ahead of Greg LeMond, jumping away in the last kilometre. Nobody chased him down. One was Joop Zoetemelk of Holland, and that was 1985. He was also the last Dutchman to win the world title, come to think of it. And now Michael Bogart is going to try and put that to rights. 7 victories for the Netherlands over the years in this World Championship, 15 for the Italians, 24 for the Belgians. They head the rankings, by the way. 3 for the USA, share between LeMond and Armstrong, and now Kamazin is going to try and make it for Switzerland, because he's come from the back on a very strange place to attack. He's gone on a flat road here. It's a bit of a false flat. But Armstrong has given some resistance, but really is expecting somebody else to go. Bartley's going to take it up. So Kamazin's made the move. Bartley's gone after him. Lance is looking for some help here. Bogart is coming through. There'll be nothing from the end of the line. And Van Petegem has jumped on. So the Lions got themselves back into order, but they haven't really closed down the gap here on Oscar Kamazin. I don't think anybody was expecting that attack, least of all me. That's why I was giving you a few statistics. And my goodness me, he's gone, and now Armstrong has realised they've got to stitch it up quickly, because at this stage of the race, and in fact Bogart has punctured. Well, can you believe that? That is rotten luck. Michael Bogart's front tyre is soft, it's not flat, it's hitting the rim, but you can't answer an attack with a flattening front tyre. Well, that is really, really bad luck for the Dutchman. It has come at a crucial moment of development of this championship. We're half a lap to go to the finish. A good change by the boys have got Bogart back onto the road. The convoy's still going by, but will he get back now? They haven't caught Kamazin. He's still that little speck in the distance. Armstrong working like a Trojan here with anybody who can come up and join him. Bartley, Van Petegem and Ebersol. Van Petegem looking around, I think, to see where on earth has Bogart gone. He may not have seen him put his hand up. He just shot out of that line and called for the car as fast as he could. He is now chasing just behind this group. We don't know exactly where, but he can't be more than 10 seconds back. And the Dutch commentator talking about Michael Bogart down at the finishing line, so he's probably telling the crowd the bad news. Well, we could be in for a big shock now, because these riders are beginning to show signs of having no answer to what seemed an innocuous attack from Kamazin. Don't forget, we're talking about a rider who hasn't won a race this year. And there is Bogart trying to get back through the convoy. The cameras are with him. His team car just in front, and I'm sure that's not by coincidence, but then nobody wished that sort of bad luck on Michael. On the Bermelingen, he's now going straight through. He's got a little bit of an empty road in front. Oh, rotten luck. It's at times like that you wish you could help them in some other way, isn't it? Because nobody deserves that sort of luck. Kamazin making his own luck today. He's clear, and he's absolutely flying now. He's danced over this climb for the last time. Looks immensely strong. Barton, look at this. Oh, Kamazin is just climbing so well now. Concentrating, pounding those pedals. At the other end of the breakaway, we've got Bartley a little bit lower down the slopes, trying to get back on terms. He's not that far behind these. He must be almost in the tail of that convoy of cars. 10 seconds the gap to the chasers. Now, where is he? He must be on the right. There he is. He's going to get back, and that's a terrific piece of riding. He won't be too happy, though, when he gets there, because you'll find that Kamazin has flown 19 seconds, so he's just 9 seconds behind the rest of the break. Now, here is the man who could, I only say could, be the world champion in a few minutes' time if they don't get their act together very quickly. Van Petegem trying to get away on his own now. Bartley will not give up. He digs in deep. Looks over to Ebersol. I think Ebersol is the weak link now. But Armstrong, too, is no longer the man he was a lap or so ago, because he wouldn't have taken the wheel of Ebersol there if he'd had a choice. Here comes Bogart, gritting his teeth. Car lights reflecting off the wet road. And this is the man who has set this race alight. And he used his head too. He didn't wait for the climbs. He went on the false flat of the course when they were not expecting it. At the moment, they're trying to sort themselves out here as Peter van Petegem stirs up trouble up front, along with Michele Bartoli. And Armstrong, I think the legs in the last few kilometres have turned a little bit to rubber. He's going to give it one more shot to try and close the gap. He can see the medals in front of him. He would love one of those medals. It would be so satisfying for him and for all his supporters. He has plenty of those too. Ebersold is just going to have the privilege of watching everything now, and I'm not sure he can do much else anyway, because his man is in front, so he's got all of the excuses he requires. This is Van Petegem working with Bartoli. What a shrewd operator Michele Bartoli is. Fabulous bike rider. But this man could be putting the Swiss back on the map. The last man to win for Switzerland, by the way, was Ferdi Kubler in Varese in Italy back in 1951. The Swiss have only ever won it twice. The other one for the record was Hans Knecht in Zurich in 1946. Even I was young then. Now these two, silver and bronze on the road. Armstrong trying to get in amongst it. Now looking as though he might be having a little bit of trouble as the rain starts to fall down again. The motorbikes are allowed into the thick of it. Michele Bartoli, bronze medal in 1996 in Switzerland. Now, by little twist of irony, he's having to try and catch a Swiss rider to make it a goal this time out. And judging by his face, I'm not sure he can do that. Still trying to get on and still dodging in amongst his cars. He's making another run now for the last two riders of the breakaway. Bogart, I think this time, is going to close the gap. He's up to the Commissaire's car, so he must be just behind Armstrong and Ebersold. And there is Lance, and here is Michael, and he's going to go straight by. He can see all too easily that the whole brake has blown up since his flat tyre. Ebersold still got the strength to jump his wheel. Lance finds the same level of power too. And these two are just ahead. And Bartoli looks to me as though he's struggling. I think if he gets down to it, Van Petegem will beat him here. But this man, he looks so fresh. Talk about becoming inspired. Oscar Camazon, he's only been a pro. This is only his third season as a professional. 27 years of age. 11 wins in his career. None this year, by the way. Last year's national champion, when he also won the Grand Prix Willem Tell, which is a good stage race in Switzerland. He was second also in the Tour of Switzerland after one good day when he romped away and he kept on there. And right now, these three, they may profit a little bit by the effort, because Bogart is on a mission. He's got to get back up there, and it doesn't matter what it takes. He's going to ride himself into the ground for his public, and his adrenaline will still be flowing after that flat tyre. Horrible luck. It's happened in the past, and it'll happen again, I'm sure. But even so, it's a great shame. All the progress that world cycling has made, and they still can't stop a flint in the tyre. Armstrong still working, knowing there's nothing coming from behind, knowing at worst he will be sixth in the World Championship. Lance won't like that. He'll want a medal and he'll fight for it. Bartoli, Van Petegem. Bartoli still working very, very hard. Now into his little time trial position. Even without his special bars, which are banned now, he still can ride in the position. You better watch out, he might get a fine. But here is the rider who is looking like he's on his opening lap. He's off like a rabbit, and they're not going to catch him, I don't think. He's still got the Cowberg to come, but he's not struggling. And so I think at the Cowberg he might even go further away. There's only a few seconds covering them all at the moment. Do or die. And there's no doubt now this is a record speed for a World Championship. I haven't a clue what it is, but the times are putting it well in excess of the previous record, which was 41.5. And I think I said, for 1985 it was 41.5 kilometers an hour. That's about 26.5 miles an hour, I guess. And at that time, Jörg Zoetemelk was the winner. Well, into the marvellous town now of Valkenburg for the last time. The cheers now to try and get these riders up to the front of the race. But they're not going to do it, I don't think. Peter van Petegem, it's been a great day of racing for the Belgian. He's lifted himself up amongst the top one-day riders now. But look at this man. He's come from absolutely nowhere and no wins this year to put himself in such a situation here now. And it is going to be a great moment for him at the top of the hill. Oscar Kamazin, the former champion of Switzerland, is now making ready to become a world champion. The first time the rainbow jersey will go back to Switzerland since Ferdi Kubler in 1951. And Van Petegem very soon is going to start wondering about whether he should concentrate on a silver medal rather than forget the gold, because he knows once over the top of this and he's looking around that corner, if he doesn't catch sight of this man, he knows he's not going to catch him. Bogart too, desperately close to them but not quite there, and I don't think they're going to get back now. Michael Bogart has had to be the sort of strong man in this group of three since he came back after his flat tyre. But the gaps are there now. His chance went with the fresh air out of his front tyre. Here comes Michele Bartoli. Already had a third 2 years ago. Doesn't want that again. At least progress will be a silver. He's had his misfortunes as well today. He seems to have spent most of his time chasing until he finally got into the breakaway. This man is now inspired. His braces are caught on the finishing line and he's going to be pulled in by them because they're not going to catch him. Bogart labouring over the top of the climb, or towards the top of the climb. Ebersold has done a great ride. It would have been seen as a wonderful performance. It would be overshadowed now by that of Kamazin, but he's going to finish sixth at worst as well. This man now can begin to enjoy a wonderful feeling here because he's going to move into the record books for Switzerland. The sprint almost starting behind here, as on the right of our picture, Michele Bartoli is trying now to desperately get something out of this. Peter van Petegem unwilling to work now. He goes through but not with any power. He knows now silver or bronze is all that's left. Kamazin is making ready to give a world champion salute. Surely he could never have dreamt of this. The former postman from Switzerland, the Mappe rider. Mappe have won the world title in the past, of course, with riders like Johan Museeuw. But right now, it's going to be Oscar Kamazin, and Michael Bogart will never know if he would have been in at the kill because of that puncture. You can see the crowd still cheering him all of the way. They know of his misfortune, of course. The televisions will have told them that. 1 kilometre to go for Kamazin, slightly less for these two. And I think once you're inside that kilometre, these two now are going to think more of racing for silver. I know Van Petegem will. Just down to the boulevard of trees now to the finishing line. All of the climbs are behind. He's just taking no chances. Little look over the shoulder to make sure. Kamazin now can prepare to be a world champion, and that is an incredible performance. You can hear a bell, but believe me, it's not for the last lap. This is it. He's champion of the world, and he doesn't believe it. He shakes his head. He made one cheeky move, but he wasn't a cheeky bike rider today. He was the best bike rider in the race, that's for sure. But he made his move when they didn't expect it, and that gave him what he wanted. And it is going to be a very fast time indeed. It'll be a shade over 6 hours, and that is far and away a record time for the distance of 258 kilometres in a World Championship. Oscar Kamazin of Switzerland is the world champion. Now the race for silver and bronze. Bartley has won already. He's going to take on Peter Van Petegem. He'll have a job to outsprint Van Petegem, I think. This is going... No, he sat up. Bartley has given it. He'll have to settle the bronze again as he got 2 years ago. Van Petegem gets silver for Belgium, and that in itself is an excellent result too. But there's the man who has taken out the honours today, the first since Ferdy Kubler, and only the third rider from Switzerland to take this title. Now, Armstrong, fourth in the Tour of Spain, fourth in the World Time Trial Championship a couple of days ago. He can still get fourth in this race, and I think we would all see that as an outstanding performance. Bogart has done much of the work since rejoining from that puncher. Armstrong's got some punch in those legs. Armstrong is going to make it 4-2. So Lance Armstrong comes clear. Bogart's going to hang on there for fifth, and no, he's not. He's going to get sixth. Abersol is going to try and challenge Lance, but he won't get it. Armstrong fourth over the line. And another brilliant performance from the American. I think just probably a lap too far.
Again here, links.
But even that was a worthwhile performance. There's the result. Oscar Kamazin of Switzerland gets a well-deserved victory from Van Petegem, Bartley, Armstrong and Abersol. Here's how Lance has ended a brilliant comeback season with another great performance in a World Championship. He's been the World Champion before, but today, at the end of this season, this has got to be a World Championship performance in fourth place. Lance Armstrong will go home tonight and settle down. I believe he's going to have dinner with Eddie Merckx in Brussels. Well, he's going to enjoy the night, I'm sure, with the satisfaction of fourth here and fourth in the World Time Trial. Roll on 1999. And Michael Bogart there looking rather sad, and I'm not surprised. The rainbow jersey on the shoulders of Oscar Kamazin, who can now go to the Tour of Lombardy as the world champion, and Switzerland have themselves a new hero to cheer. So as the Swiss national anthem dies away, Oscar Kamazin is the champion of the world, and I hope you've enjoyed the coverage of this extraordinary World Championship. Alfredo Binda won the first one in 1927. Now Switzerland have their third world champion. I'm Phil Liggett saying goodbye.